Hey, gang, coming up on our Finding Better podcast. Happy New Year. This is the first episode of 2026, and I've got Andrew Brummer joining me. We're going to talk about transformation. We're going to talk about his journey, about having lost his job and reinventing himself into something truly amazing. And the whole idea here is we're not talking about New Year's resolutions, but we are talking about vision. We're talking about hope. We're talking about dreaming. And it's not that hard to do. You just got to give yourself permission and have a couple of things to move forward with. So we're going to talk about those things. It's an amazing episode, and we could be setting your path for the future because this is all about finding better, right? All right. Please share this. Please subscribe. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life lived experiences of people who have been there and done that and finding better in their lives. Because you've heard me say this a million times before. Sometimes the best path to success is the one that has already been made by people who have blazed that blazed that path before. Sorry about that. I got tongue tied on my own words. Today's episode is going to be really, really interesting and really relevant. My guest today is Andrew Brummer. Andrew, welcome to Finding Better.
Thanks a lot, John. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah, listen, the world is changing out there, folks, and in a lot of ways, it's changing underneath our feet. And especially with the rise of artificial intelligence and all that comes with, you're seeing things change so fast. And by the way, if you're not using artificial intelligence because you think that it's hard or it's scary, all you do is go to chatgpt.com and ask it a question. You can ask it a question of what's the best chocolate cake recipe you know. People think that it's really, really hard. It's the easiest technology, even though it's the most advanced technology we've ever created. It's the easiest one to learn and use. But we're not here to talk about artificial intelligence. I bring that up because artificial intelligence is driving so much change in the world. And you're hearing about layoffs, you're hearing about people not hiring because of, in a lot of ways, productivity gains. So Andrew and I are going to talk about change and transformation. Andrew has just launched a book called Leading Magnanimously, but he's also written another book about choosing, about deciding for yourself. And so this is not just about leading, it's about you. And it's about me, and it's about what's going on in the world today that is very, very relevant to where you might be or where you maybe even where you are right now. Okay. So with this, let me just give you a quick introduction to Adam. Sorry, Andrew. I was thinking about my friend Andrew just now. Adam just now because he kind of does
Oh,
some
no,
of the same stuff. Sorry about that. All right. So Andrew Brummer. Here we go. Imagine March 2024. All right. Put yourself in Andrew's shoes. He gets a call that everybody dreads, that the company he's working for might not survive. Okay. So at 53, this South African immigrant with no college degree and a chaotic, unplanned career, does that sound familiar to some of you guys? Suddenly faces reinvention. A lot of people would panic. In some cases, I would. But Andrew chose radical service instead of panicking. Um, Within months of that news, he transformed potential disaster into opportunity. And that's one of the things I want to talk about today. He didn't just find another job, he launched a global coaching mission, mentoring professionals from Iraq to Botswana, India to Venezuela. Andrew's journey destroys every excuse ever made. No degree? Check. Starting over at 53? Check. Limited network and don't know very many people? Check. And yet, with all that, he built a thriving business. He authored two books and he became the go to mentor from everyone from startup founders to Fortune 500 leaders. Again, Andrew, welcome to Finding Better podcast.
Thanks a lot, John. I appreciate your words.
All right, so I'm just gonna start off with a little bit of a punchline here. As I said, there's a lot of folks out there that are concerned about what tomorrow's going to bring, right?
Yep, yep.
What do you say to them?
Yeah, so I'd say it's mindset. We all have stuff going on, be it career, be it
Yep,
job, family, be it noise, be it money, be it appreciation, be it abuse, be it emotional. We've all got stuff going on. How we choose to arrive in the face of that stuff tomorrow is completely up to us. That stuff we can allow to influence us, or we can get our head straight to say, that stuff is really rubbish and a terrible experience, and I don't like being in the middle of it, but I can be the master of it. I can control the things that are going on me, about me, for me, and then work to solve the challenges that I'm faced with versus allowing those things to define my day. And I think no matter what problem is thrown at you, we have the opportunity to look at that and say, what do I do with myself now? I am here. It is what it is. What do I do now? How do I now put one foot forward to start working towards figuring out how do I resolve this problem? How do I make life easier for me? How do I make life better for people around me? How do I move forward?
I love that. I love that. Because these days, all of us have got so much stuff being thrown at us and driven at us and just crushing us, right?
Yep,
And what you say is that you may not be able to control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it and what you
absolutely.
do about it,
Yeah,
right? And so, one of the things that I've learned is that happiness and the solutions to your problems aren't out there. They all start in you, right?
absolutely.
And that sounds like kind of what you're saying.
Absolutely. It's all mindset. So if you get your head straight, in my own experience dealing with the challenges I've been through in life, both since the pivot and prior to that pivot, as well as the people I've had the privilege of coaching from, as you mentioned earlier, from Iraq to Rwanda, Botswana, Nigeria, Venezuela, Brazil, Bulgaria, US. I mean, it's all about how you decide to show up in the minutes of the things that are being thrown at you. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
do you
Sorry.
define the next step, or do you allow what has been thrown at you to define what you do next?
And the thing that I love about what you just said is that it's our choice, right? It's our choice. We have the choice and we have the power to make a decision.
Yep.
And and I believe that the product of our life in the future is directly dependent upon the choices and decisions we make from now on, right? And one of the things that I wanted to just kind of mention, you mentioned mindset. It's all about mindset. And we don't have to talk about this, but this is just a concept I want to introduce to my audience because I just came up with it. Okay. It's not just mindset, it's also heart set. It's heart set. What's in your heart, right? What are your feelings? What are your values? You know, the mindset is massively, massively important, right? Because you can have a positive, productive mindset, or you can have a negative and unproductive, and quite frankly, harmful mindset in setting your path. But don't forget your heart, okay? Because as you're thinking about things, check your heart. How does it
Yeah.
feel? And if it feels
Yeah.
right, it might be another clue. Okay, so enough said about that. Just kind of think about that as we go along. So, what was your journey like? I mean, here you are at 53 years old, and you're working. Things are going well, and all of a sudden you get that call, and you go, "Uh-oh." A lot of people are fearful of that call.
Yeah.
A lot of
And
people, yeah. What do you do? What
yeah,
did you
so
do?
I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of people in the last 20 months. I've met probably about 1,000 people, maybe more,
How?
um, through networking, through reaching out. So my problem started with my CEO and good friend telling me, "Hey, we've got a problem. If we don't get funding, there's a really good chance that the things are going to fall out underneath us." And I was like, "Well, geez, I'm in trouble." because I got nothing. I got no network, no people, no friends. I'm a pleaser doer. I'm very good at what I do, but I've always done it in the shadow of other people. I'm like, I have no brand, I have no product, I've nothing. I got nowhere to start. And the very first thing I did was did what every um I'll say male, but probably every human does, is I went to bed that night, sulked, felt sorry for myself, and then I woke up the next morning, did the budget, looked at the family and said, all right, guys, we're in trouble. Let's get going. Let's crack this. We've got to find an answer here. And straight away, literally, that was a Friday night. Saturday, I was moving. And Saturday, by Monday, I was on the volunteer boards. And within weeks, I had my first volunteer mentoring that I was doing.
Okay,
I
okay,
can't
okay.
remember what.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought.
Yeah,
At the first volunteer mentoring that you're doing, it took you 24 hours to take action,
correct.
right? So there's a clue. There's one clue, folks, right? For those of you who might be in these circumstances, yes, yes. Take a moment, brush yourself off, get up off the ground, but get busy, get
Yeah, for
busy,
me,
get busy.
it's about the energy. You can sit there and mope and sulk and feel sorry for yourself, and all that
Yep.
energy that goes in there, and itself, it's a self-feeding cesspool that we
Yeah. Oh,
indulge
totally.
ourselves, and it gets so quagmired. And if you allow that to root itself and to kind of become a new normal for you, to come out of it's going to be really hard. It doesn't say that, within 24 hours, 12 hours, whatever it was, that I'd fixed the problem and, I'd found
Right.
new solved solutions. What had happened is I'd looked at the worst case scenario, accepted what the worst case scenario was, and knew that to change anything was completely on me. I
Yes.
I was the only person who could affect and avoid that worst case scenario happening. So I have a choice at that, me as a human being, you as a human being, you have a choice at that point in time when you understand what the worst possible consequence is. And I allow my brain to go there. I allow myself to go to what that worst possible consequence is. And I look at it and the terms I use with people I lead and coach is I touch it. So when I can look at it, touch it, feel it, I'm like, okay, that's how bad it can be. Now, what is everything I can do to make sure that that thing doesn't happen? And because I've now looked at it, I've touched it, I've smelt it, it's not something I have to hide away from. I don't get there and I have to apply all this energy towards, trying to be or do something that I'm not. So then I can apply all the energy, all that energy that's welling up, that fear, that anxiety. I can now harness that energy towards now actually finding resolution and moving myself into a point of action. The very first place I looked at was to say, I have no brand. I've done a lot of things for a lot of people, but I've always been in the back room. I've always been the black box that's got stuff done. So I don't have this repertoire, this speech thing, this product thing. I don't have this thing that I can put out there. And I can point to companies that are successful and people that have moved on in their careers because of me. But I mean, there's no credibility behind that, right? If I'm saying, well, you're successful because I helped you get there, I mean, that's kind of weak-minded of myself. So I
Yeah,
looked and
that
I'm like,
doesn't do much.
what the hell do I do with myself now? So at that point, I'm like, all right, so the very first thing I knew is I needed to keep my mind busy and I needed to keep myself focused. And the best thing we as human beings can do to get out of our own pity wallow mode is help other people versus um, indulge our own weaknesses and fears. So I got volunteering, and there are two websites, Push and ADP List, that I registered on. And they are websites that offer free volunteer mentoring, professional volunteering. So it's not food bank type of volunteer or mentoring or volunteering. It's coaching. It's helping people figure out. For some people, it was how do they manage their team of males when she was the only female in an industrial plant in Botswana. The other was a lady in Nigeria who wanted to go to a fashion school in France, go to the US, learn how to scale, and come back into Nigeria to run a business. And different people with different problems, different things. And what I did was just immerse myself in that.
Eh,
And none of those
So,
people could
so
pay. That was all for free. That no
okay,
one could reward. But what I got out of it was significant.
okay. So I want to unwind just a couple of things that you said. Okay, um, and this is something that is so important. Energy builds energy, and so as you were saying, Andrew. You found your energy kind of spiraling and kind of going down, and you said, "What the heck? I got to get out of this." And it didn't take you long because you
Yeah.
didn't dwell in it that long. The longer you dwell in it, the
Yeah.
harder it gets, right?
Yeah.
And so you decided to turn that energy around. You know, negative energy builds more negative energy, and positive energy builds no, more positive energy.
Yep.
And it's really important to understand that. And the other thing that you said that I think is just fascinating is that you didn't dwell on yourself. You decided that you're going to focus your energy on figuring out how you can serve others. And that is such a powerful, powerful thing. And so before you go on to your story about how you offered these free services to people all around the world, what was it that made you decide in the first place to shift your thinking from yourself to others?
John, I've asked this question quite a few times, and the only pragmatic, sound answer I can come up with was my mom. Um,
That's a good one.
I had a very fairly challenging upbringing with a lot of operations. I had a very challenging upbringing, and my mom used to tell me, Andrew, you got to get out of your own way. You got to figure out how you're going to deal with tomorrow because no one's going to deal with it for you. So you need to know that when you wake up tomorrow, whatever you go to bed with tonight will still be true tomorrow. You have to decide how you find your way through this. And one of the easiest ways to find your way through this is to help other people in whatever way they need helping, not how you think they need to be helped,
Wow.
but how they need or ask or show up and intimate that they have a need, whether they vocalize that need or not, but it is their need, not the thing that you're wanting to give, but the thing that you understand because you're listening. You actually are listening. You're stopping. You're stopping the brain thoughts and you stop and you listen. And you listen to the words and the unspoken, and you listen to the eyes and you listen to the ears and you listen to the hand movements and you listen. And then you engage with that person in the way that is going to be most beneficial to that person. And when you do that on a persistent basis, you will find you will find a recipe to realize that as bad as the lot is that you've been dealt, it's nothing compared to what others have got.
Isn't that the truth? Oh my gosh. I tell my kids, no matter how bad you have it, you got to understand something. Everybody you see, everybody you touch, everybody you hear about
Yep,
has got a story, has got something going on in their lives that's worse than whatever the heck it is you're dealing with,
yep,
right? I
yep,
mean, we're so good at presenting this facade. People say, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing great."
yeah,
Some people say, "Yeah, I'm living the dream." And you peel that onion back, and almost all the time, every single time, you find something where you go, "Oh man,"
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
And at 17, I won't dive into all the reasons why, but there's a whole bunch of reasons why I decided to kind of run away from boarding school. And at 17, I found myself in a park, a flay, a big open field that was where there were a whole bunch of homeless and poverty-ridden people living in. And I found myself in that. And those people who had nothing, they had nothing, gave me everything to keep me alive and keep me going okay at 17. So when you see that
wow.
kind of humanity take place in a racially divided world where it opens your eyes that if you can step out of the stereotype of the world that we are taught to believe or fearmonger to believe is true, and you actually dig into what the world is about and you actually engage with human beings, that what you learn is astounding. And then to step in and contribute towards that, knowing you have no agenda behind it or no ask behind it, that changes your perspective on how you look at the lot that you're dealing with. It changes everything.
And how does that change you?
So that's difficult because I went through those changes when I was young, 17, 18 years old. I went through those changes. It helped me today not take any, if I've not experienced, if somebody gives me a jaded view on something, a bias view in whatever bias it is, I don't care what the bias is, and I have not physically touched that thing that they're giving me a bias on, then their view is nothing more than sprinkles of salt. Um, and I will figure out a way to inform, educate, make myself insightful on, to learn, to research, to go thrust myself into, to figure out what is actually happening here.
What is the truth?
Yep.
What is the truth? Wow. So as you today, as you are doing your work, okay, I want to continue your story of how you started, you reached out, you became a volunteer, right?
Yep.
And the first folks you spoke to were in Botswana. Pick up your story from there.
Yeah. So I had the privilege, and you know what's fascinating is everyone I've dealt with and had the privilege of meeting, whether it was a once off or it was a year that I've been working with them, everybody wants to be recognized. They want to be heard. They want to have purpose. They want to have dreams. They want dreams. They want an exciting tomorrow. They understand innately that their tomorrow is in their own hands and it's not going to be dealt to them. But it's fascinating from Botswana to Nigeria to Iraq to Australia, India, US. Everybody wants the same principles, the same basics. Now, how people find value and find purpose, that's different between every country and every economy. The social dynamics are fascinatingly different, but and what that did was taught me where all of the discussions were gravitating towards, the kind of people that I was attracting in, the kind of discussions that were happening around me, the value of those discussions, and what that helped me do in a very graceful, non-emergency way, helped me find my product, my voice, my thing that is codified down into a very short set of snippets that very clearly state what I do and why I do what I do through a journey that I know that what I'm focused at is absolutely of relevance to the people that I reach out to and the people that I engage with, and the value is absolutely experienced. Um, so it was a fascinating journey. And then along that individual volunteering, I then also got involved in volunteering with minority startups in the Atlanta area, and got involved with coaching founders, business owners, CEOs, small companies, and that extracted or expanded itself to the country Georgia, Brazil, Venezuela, US, working with CEOs to help them figure out how do they get out of their own way? How do they structure their business? How can I help them make themselves dispensable? So it was this evolving growth thing that happened. And then it got into figuring out not only am I able to impact in a fantastic way, and because I just have a knack of drawing out the best in people, helping them figure out what are they? Why are they what they are? I often get to discussions with individuals who I'll say to them, I'm going to ask you a question now, but I don't want you to answer me. I don't want the answer. It's clear to me that everything you've shared with me, you don't have an answer for this question for yourself. You need to go find your own answer, and you don't owe the definition or the answer to anybody, but you do owe it to yourself. And then I'll throw the question out. And to see people's eyes and minds open, to see where people come from and how you help them see what is around them, what's actually going on around them. And because I'm not a biased person, I have my own flaws and fallacies and have my own issues to deal with. How I engage with people, I engage in very graceful, kind ways. And I love doing it. I have a natural gift for doing it. And I help people find their own feet, find their own mustard seeds, figure out how they move themselves forward and what the most constructive action is for them today and in a week's time. What message are they ready to hear today about their state of the world that they've surrounded themselves with, and in 2 weeks' time, what are they ready for? And I don't have a mission to say, I want this person to hear this message. For me, it's about understanding that person, what they're properly capable of, and what they haven't untapped yet. I just have an ability to see that and then help them see it. And then help them figure out how do they untap themselves to get out of their own way and go change people's lives. Because if I can change one person that is a founder or a CEO or a business owner, and that one person can go change 10 people, and I teach that person to teach the other 10 people how to change another 10 people each, the multiplication effect is dramatic.
It's huge. You know, what you just described is the reason why I started this podcast. And, because I've always told my kids, and my kids reminded me that I always have told them that when you lift one person, you lift the world. And so my daughter came back and threw that back at me. And she says, Dad, you need to do a podcast because what you've always said, and she said, you've given us all so many great lessons, including our friends. And um, and it's just been amazing. This podcast has been the unexpected joy of my life. And I started it in January of last year. I'm now approaching 200 episodes,
Congrats.
3,300 YouTube subscribers. I don't know how many are on Apple and Spotify. And your voice, I mean, you never know who you're going to impact, right, Andrew? I
I,
mean,
I say that
you
all the time. You
you
never
just
know.
never know. You just
You
never
never know.
know.
So
And it goes,
there was a guy that I met. I give him a hard time all the time whenever I'm on a call with him. His name is Josh. And he introduced me inside of the UBSI book. Sorry, I'm on a tangent now because we're so aligned on this. He gave me 30 seconds and I was frantic. I was like, I know what the hell I'm going to do with myself. He gave me 30 seconds of his time, 30 seconds of words. Probably wasn't even 30 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. And inside You Decide, I've got a timeline book, a timeline. That's Josh at the top. He gave me 30 seconds of his time. And 30 seconds evolved into everything over here. Forums, bodies, people, books, executive forums, volunteer forums, angel investment funds. Just open up. I tell people all the time, you never know. You just don't know what you don't know. You don't know the small words that are going to make a fundamental difference, which goes back to my mantra. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, is my world is about planting seeds that will grow trees that I will never sit under. And I will probably never even know that some of the trees have sprouted.
that's right. That's right. So what were those 30 seconds?
The 30 seconds was introducing me to a world of fractional executives through the US. He said to me, Andrew, here's a forum. It's called Fractionals United. And it's a bunch of people who are like you, energetic, a love for life, and are going to help one another. And I'm like, come on. That sounds cliched. He says, just go join. That was it.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. All right, a
That was
couple of
it.
things. Okay. So you referred back to a question that you ask folks as they start their journey of finding themselves. What is
Yes.
that question?
So for everyone, it's different. So I'll give you an example. So it
Yeah.
depends on the person, right? Because for some
Okay,
people, it's
that's fair.
money. For other people, it's about hiring. For other people, it's about what is your dream? Like for a startup, one of the questions I'll say to them is, why are you doing this? For a
Ah,
founder, why are
that's
you
a good
doing
one.
this? What do you want out of this? And they'll say, I know I want to go make money. And I say to them, okay, I'm going to give you $10 million for your idea. No, you're going to sell it to me. No, 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 no. I'm not selling it. Okay, I'm going to give you $100 million. You're going to sell me your business. And they're like, no, I want it more to be like this family legacy thing. And I'll be like, all right, I'll give you $1 billion. They're like, and then I say, and then I stop them because then inevitably it gets into a lot of excuses for the answers they've given and the thought process. I'm like, stop, stop. I don't need to know why. I don't need to know what your answer is. It's clear you don't have an answer for yourself. And that answer as a founder is one of the most important answers you can answer for yourself. Because if you're wanting a life legacy, it means you're going to hire long term. Your product is going to be sound. Your support customer experience is going to be phenomenal. You're going to have people around you that carry the same ethic and life value. If you're trying to sell for $1 million or $10 million because you want to turn this thing quick, you're going to have an MVP that's busted all over the place. The glass is going to be shattered. You're going to be hiring salespeople that are overselling what you're capable of delivering on. You're going to bring investors on board that you don't really care about their life morals and value structures. You're just going to bring money on board to get and everything in between. So don't tell me, but you need to give yourself an answer. Another one, I'll ask someone if they're for example, hiring, um, is I'll say to I'll when I'm doing the interview cycle, I'll say to the person, when I wake up, I get to see this pretty face in the morning. And my wife looks at me and says, okay, I have a good sense of what you're about, Andrew. You're full of nonsense. You kind of don't know when to shut up and you don't have an off button. You look in the
Okay.
mirror. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? And everybody stumbles. When I throw that out there as a question. Everybody stumbles, but it's not about whatever answer is given. It's about how does that person handle themselves in the moment that you throw something at them that they could never have planned for.
Mm,
How do you, where do you see? Because that's when you get to, when you're hiring, that's when you get to see what's this person going to show up like when I throw something at them or I'm not around, or for the startup, for the founder, or for the person who's about to exit their company partner, their best friend and company partner is, okay, so you're going to exit them now. Don't answer me in this. Don't answer me. You're pressing very hard to exit this person now, and you're going to go through a whole bunch of legal loopholes right now. In 5 years' time or 2 years' time, that best friend that's been your best friend for the past 20 years, in 6 months' time or 2 years' time or 5 years' time, does it matter that they love you? Don't answer me. Doesn't matter. Because what you've said tells me you haven't thought through the consequences, emotion and anger
mm.
coming through what you're saying now. You haven't thought through the whole the whole story of what is about to unfold. So
No, you're not talking about me. You're talking generically about the you, right? I just want to make sure. I just
yes, John.
okay. I'm sitting there going, how did it, what's he talking about? I mean,
No, you asked me what are the questions, so then I gave you three
yeah,
examples
okay.
of questions. But John, it's about listening to what the person is saying,
Sure.
understanding why they've engaged with you, and listening and hearing everything they're saying, just like you do. Listening to all the words, the cues, the hand movements, the eyes, the facial, less paying attention so that you can find the questions to ask that person that are going to be provocative with that person's life. And for me, it's not about asking the questions that are going to keep me employed for the next 5 years. For me, it's
Right.
about how do I ask questions that shake your shoes today and help shove you in the right direction in a very safe, graceful way. And if you're not ready for where I see it going, how can I then evolve you to a point that what I see to be naturally evident in you because of your strengths and your challenges that you face, how do I help you shine a light on you so that you can get to celebrate and experience the brilliance of you and not the you that somebody taught you to be?
Got it. Got it. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question that may not be a fair question. But you talked a lot about you're going to show, you're listening, you're going to help folks understand. You're going to shake them up. What can people do? You know, because there's a lot of people who are in the moment right now. There are a lot, maybe every single person listening right now.
Yeah.
But what are things folks can do without you, that
Yeah.
they can do themselves, that can
First thing I'm
really
going to
help them? Hmm.
do, yeah, great question, John. I really appreciate your questions. Very thoughtful. Um, so the first thing I'm going to say, everyone that's listening is going to say that's a cliche and it's not possible. But for me, it's everything. Whether it is a 5 or 10 year dream slash hope slash desire, what is that for you? And what are you doing today that's walking you toward that? Because if you do not have a dream, hope, or desire, you are living somebody else's, in the shadow of someone else's. And I speak on my own behalf. You're living somebody else's. If you have a dream, a hope, or a desire, and you have no plan, then you're a servant pleaser. And I have been a servant pleaser. And you're living at the bequest or behest of people around you. And if you have a dream, hope, or desire, and you're working feverishly towards it, and you're failing at 9 out of the 10 steps you committed to yourself to walk towards it, that means you've taken one step towards that dream, hope, or desire. And if you do that every single day of your life, out of the 10 times you try to get to your dream, the 9 you fail, the 1 you move forward in the right direction, you will achieve your dream, hope, or desire. Sooner or later, you'll get there, and it will be in your control.
So you just named off three characters, if you will. The first one is a person who doesn't have a dream or a hope, and that person is living somebody else's dreams and hopes. That is profound. The
And
second one,
that's not, I just want to, as you go through that, and
yeah,
that's not a bad thing at
yeah,
all, as long as you know it.
sure. That is both fair and very and fascinating because my knee-jerk reaction is, well, everybody's got a dream, everybody's got hopes, right?
What are you doing to
They
get
may
there?
they may not believe that they're capable or their life is such
Because people
that
have
they can
told them.
ever achieve. Right, right. And that's what you mean by living somebody else's dream because they're living based on some external expectations that aren't their
Correct.
own.
Correct.
Okay, that is really interesting. And I think the next one is even more interesting. When you said that people who do have dreams and hopes, but are not pursuing them, are servants to others.
Absolutely.
I have never heard that before.
What else? What are you doing? If you have a dream, you have a hope, or you have a desire, and you're doing nothing towards pushing yourself, and um, you're living by the good graces of what transpires for you today. What you're doing is today I'm living in your dream, and tomorrow Anne comes along and I live her dream because Anne kind of seems more aligned now to my dream than you were. So now I live Anne's. And 3 months later, Paul comes along. And now Paul is living closer towards the aspirational dream of mine. And now I align myself to Paul and I start. So while I think I'm working myself towards my dream, I'm not actually. I'm living parts of my dream vicariously, helping other people achieve their versions.
I'm still thinking about this. It's it is okay. So you just gave everybody what I think is really cool awareness,
Here's one
right?
piece that goes with that. Given I have 10 things I'm going to do today, let's try and make it really pragmatic. Let's say I have 10 things. Let's say I have a dream, and my dream in 5 years' time is to be on a cruise ship traveling around the world.
Yep.
Let's say that I have 10 things I'm going to do this week that are pointed towards how I'm going to get there, or this month. There are 10 things I'm going to set out to do. 8 of those things I am naturally, because of who I am, because of how I think, and this applies to everybody, because of who we are, what we have lived, what we've experienced, who we have around us, what we've done. 8 out of those 10 things, we are innately gifted to know what the right and wrong thing is to do. And we're probably right if we choose to do something of those 8. We're probably going to do the right thing for 8 of those things. For
Okay.
1 out of those 10 things, we are out of our depth.
Okay.
We're unsure. We're not completely there. and we take a guess, and there's a 50-50 chance. There's a better than non chance that I'm wrong or going to mess up somehow,
Okay.
right? That's one out. And one out of those 10, I'm absolutely going to mess up.
Okay.
One out of those 10, I'm going to be wrong.
Okay.
I'm going to drop the glass. I'm going to break it. I'm going to put the golf ball through the window. I'm going to drop the wine bottle. What what life teaches us, how society has taught us to live, is to live in the fear of the consequence of the one out of 10 I'm guaranteed to get wrong.
Yes. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what we do as human beings is I now take my dream, I take a dream,
Yeah.
and I now say, one out of
Oh.
10, society have told me I'm going to be wrong, I'm going to fail. So what's the point, Andrew, in having a dream that is 5 or 10 years out? There's no point to it. There's no point. I'm never going to get there. I can't do it because we've been taught that one out of 10 is how everyone lives their life by. But the 8 out of 10 is how the human race became the human race.
Yeah.
By
And why we're
doing,
sitting here talking
trying,
to each other.
learning,
Yeah.
taking chances, finding friends, loving, hurting, everything about being
You
human. And
know,
we do that intuitively, but we limit ourselves by that 1 out of 10 that we are absolutely going to get wrong because we're so scared of consequence. We're so scared of consequence that we will live our lives and everything around us because of the fear of getting it wrong.
holy cow. That was beautiful. That was amazing. And I don't think there's a single person listening who disagrees with that, right? I mean, we're always looking at the worst case scenario, and in so many cases, we're living by the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And in your example, 9 out of 10 times, the worst case scenario never happens, right?
Just
It never.
just think of all that love that is lost. Just think of all the doors that could have been opened that were never opened. Think of all the lives that could have been touched that were never touched. Think of all the joy that could have been created that was never created.
You know, I just did a an episode, a personal episode. I do that every once in a while. It's just me. And in that episode, part of what I did was I look in the camera and I said, "You are amazing. You are amazing. You were born amazing." If you look at a newborn child and you don't think to yourself, "That is amazing," then you know, I it, you're wrong. You're just wrong. But if you extend that and you go, you know what? That was you. That is still you. We were born amazing. We were placed on this planet, and you are still amazing. And we all have the capability of going out and making the world better. And it's like you said, if one leads to two leads. Anyway, it's a phenomenal math problem,
I've
right?
I've a I've a phrase that my mom gave it to me when I was younger, and I've kind of evolved it a little bit, and it's in the book Leading Magnanimously, and I'll just quote it out to you. We have each come to be who we are through the stories of our life that no one knows. We have each woven a fabric of ourselves, which, for each of us, is the perfect representation of who we are today. Your job as a leader is to love that woven fabric of every individual in the unique way each fabric wants to and allows itself to be loved.
That is amazing. Suddenly, I love your mom. What an amazing woman.
Wonderful human being.
Yeah,
I went through a very trying childhood. I put her through the ringer. I gave her a hard time, lots of hard times. She taught me to speak with authority. I used to speak and negotiate with doctors around what operations are going to take place in consequence. Um, yeah,
amazing.
life
All
was
right, listen.
difficult. She was a beautiful human being to drive me forward.
So, as we look at the world right now, I'm gonna ask you to close us out, okay, with whatever it is you want to say, with whatever value you want to offer. But in the spirit that There's a lot of people hurting out there. There's a lot of people worried out there and scared out there. They're
Yep.
scared about their futures. They're scared about what's going on. They're afraid of what could happen, right? What do you tell those folks?
So if I could drop onto your AI that you started off with.
Yes.
So indulge me in a story. Assume that AI is going to be the worst thing that everybody told you it's going to be in whatever it is. And if you want, go the Terminator Skynet route. And let's say in 10 years' time, it's
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
going to be the worst. So I want to remove any justification to say that that is the worst case scenario. So let's say that is the worst case scenario, and let's say it is gonna happen in 10 years' time. Let's say it's gonna happen in 10 years'
Okay.
time. And there is nothing me, you, or another 10 million other people glued together are going to be able to do to change the course of that. So paint the doomsday picture. Paint the absolute doomsday picture. You have 10 years. What are you going to do with your time between now and the next 10 years to drive a fantastic life with the people that love you, with the people that care, with the people you don't know, with the people that need you, with the skills you have? What are you going to do tomorrow that affects lives that you will never know? Guaranteed end state outcome is going to be and nothing can change it. What are you going to do with yourself for the next 10 years? What do you do? When you look in the mirror in 2 months into that 10 years, what do you see? And in 5 years into that 10 years, what do you see? What voices do you hear? Now apply that to your life. Assume that the worst case scenario is going to happen in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years' time. And there's nothing you can do to change that course. Nothing you can do. It's going to happen. You have a given amount of finite time, and you are a beautiful human being, and you're able to affect people's lives. You're skilled, you're gifted, you're loving, you're caring. What are you going to do? As deep as your hole is, as deep and dark as your own hole is, what are you going to do for those people around you who are living their version of a hole that is deeper, it is darker, and it is more infinite? Or you're going to sit there and watch TV, feel sorry for yourself, and moan at people around you because things are not going the way you expect them to go? Get in front of your life, make a difference to those around you, and the world has a beautiful way of circling back.
And if the world ends in 10 years, you've it's a world that's more beautiful because of you.
Lived, you've lived a beautiful 10 years and you've affected lives all over the place, and you've made other people smile and helped them find new purpose, and you've kept them away from doing stupid stuff, and you've
And
helped
here's
them
the
find rainbow.
and here's the other thing. The worst case scenario probably isn't going to happen.
Exactly.
And so
But
and
people
so
live,
10
it's
years.
back to that 1 in 10. It's
Yeah,
back to that 1 in 10.
exactly.
We live in the
Exactly.
fear of that 1 in 10. So if I say to you, guaranteed it's going to happen, I'm not going to try argue out of it. I'm not even going to try talk you out. So I believe AI is going to be fantastic for us. I think it's going to be risky, but I think it's going to, what it opens up for us. As soon as we can get it off of the sum total of our own human stupidity and get it thinking in ways that we cannot or have not been able to think, I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be amazing. But we've got to get out of our own way. We've got to look at tomorrow and figure out, what am I going to do with myself? How do I move forward? Otherwise, you know what? Switch on your favorite television channel and listen to all of the rubbish that is thrown at you, or go to the work and listen to the office gossip and politics and listen and allow that to define what tomorrow is. And, good luck with what that is, because the next day just gets worse and the day after it
Yeah.
just gets worse. So, what are you going to do for yourself?
What are you going to do to make it different? What are you going to do to make the world just a little bit better? And I love what you just said is once we can get beyond the sum total of our stupidity, we, wow, what kind of, how cool will that world be? You know what? I just
Can you
decided,
imagine when all the limitations of our thinking and everything we've grown up on to believe them to be true, all the science and all the math and all the biology, when AI can get past that and think fundamentally differently, which will nullify a lot of what we've come to believe to be true.
Yeah. Yeah, that is fascinating. That is fascinating. All right, so I just decided that I'm going to launch this episode as a first episode of 2026 for Finding Better.
Awesome.
This is going to be our launch into the new year. So I'm going to put you on the spot again, but
Ah,
this is going to be cool. What would what should okay? How should people as you know people are thinking about New Year's resolutions, thinking about how they're going to make their year better, how they're going to make this year 2026 the best year ever. What do you say to them?
what is it that you're going to be doing in 2032? And what do you need to start doing on the 1st of January 2026 that starts walking you towards that dream that you've just set? So hit the pause button, put yourself in your most serene, comfortable place, whatever that is, in front of the TV, at the bar, on your kayak, mountain biking, driving at 200 miles an hour down the interstate, whatever it is that you do. Picture yourself in 2032, 7 years from now. Where are you and what are you doing? And what are you doing today that's walking you towards that? Because if you set a goal for a New Year's resolution, that will just be a transactional resolution you set for yourself. If you set a dream and you take a decision to live towards that dream, now you're changing the trajectory of your life.
All right then. All right then. All right. So Andrew, if folks want to get with you or learn more about you, what are their main options?
So my website, andrewbrummer.com.
Brummer as in drummer with a B as in boy. All
That is
right, go
correct.
ahead.
That is correct. Andrewbrummer.com. Or my LinkedIn page, Andrew Brummer, you will find me there. You also find the two books, You Decide and Leading Magnanimously, the two books you will find out there. They will bring you to me as well. And if you do happen to stumble on my website, ardunan.com, a lot of what I've learned over the last 20 months and all the strangers and people I've met, I have tried to codify everything I've learned so that I can pass everything on that I'm learning through this pivot to try and make everybody else's pivots easier. Because I had time on my hands. Most people don't have time. They're thrust into it and they have a month, 2 months, 3 months to get themselves sorted. And what I've learned is that we are all going to pivot, start
Yep.
today and make your life
Yep.
easy.
Yeah, and you, because you can, right? If you're feeling fearful or you're feeling uncertain about the future, gosh, just do that last thing Andrew said. Just ask yourself, and even if you're happy where you are right now, ask yourself, what's your life look like in 2032? You know, pause, pause, because I'll tell you this, I've been told over and over and over again that a lot of folks who have been laid off experienced the best thing that could have ever happened to them because they're able to stop and they're able to recalibrate.
Yeah.
And when you're in the middle of it, you're just going, you're going, you're going, and then you wake up 30 years later like Rip Van Winkle is, and you go, "What just happened?
Yep. Like
Where'd my
me, I mean,
life
I
go?"
work at 53 and I'm like, man, I've done a lot. I've affected a lot of people. I've got great kids. What the hell am I going to do with myself? What do I do?
Yeah, yeah, and that is the question of the ages. That is the question of the ages, is what's my purpose, and
Yep.
figuring all that out. So, Andrew, this has been so much fun. Oh
Yeah,
my
I've
gosh,
appreciated it. Yeah,
I am going
wonderful.
to use this as our first episode. I think that's going to be on January 6th to launch into the new year because you've gone way beyond your New Year's resolutions, which never works, right? And what you've done is you just said, stop thinking about what you're going to do this year. Start thinking about what your life is going to look like 6 years from now, and just take small steps in that direction.
My
And next thing you
mindset
know,
is
you'll
not
find you there.
mindset is not making big changes. There's small steps. Stephen Covey does it like in his book, The Speed of Trust. Life and mindset is like trust. There's small, tiny little steps that you do. There's nothing big you
Yep.
have to change Just these small little behavioral things, these small little things all add up beautifully into an energy, a rip current that pulls us in the direction that we need to go. The key is defining the direction and not being drawn into somebody else's direction.
There you go. There you go. Andrew, I would love to have you back someday. We
Absolutely.
can continue this conversation. This was so much fun. Everybody, check it out, right? AndrewBrummer.com. Reach out to him. And if nothing else, rewind this episode because we talked about so many amazing things and so many simple things that you can
Yep.
implement and you can just most importantly, just take a moment and pause
Yeah.
and just ask yourself
Appreciate
some
you,
of these
John.
basic questions. Okay.
Appreciate you very
Andrew,
much.
thank you. Everybody out there, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Please share this with others. You know, if you're inclined, please subscribe. It's free and it really helps me a lot. And I guess I'm talking to you in the new year because I just decided that we're going to do this. So happy new year. And all right, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Happy New Year.